It's not the first time a year. I've been here many times. You don't know that. But I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about my favorite topic today. And that is about how and why you should restore your normal omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid balance in 120 days. As an introduction, I just remind you a few small obvious details. Omega-6 and omega-3, those are two groups of fatty acids. We have that in common that we call them the polyunsaturated fatty acids. That's what they're known as. They are both essential, meaning that your body cannot produce them. So the only way you can get omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids is through your diet. And they are like vitamins, meaning that if you get too little of omega-6 and omega-3, you will get a health problem. But my story is, of course, about when you're eating far too much omega-6 than omega-3 and what the consequences are of that. If you talk to the scientists around the world, and this here represented by Simopoulos, who is the president for the Center for Genetic, Nutrition and Health at the National Institute of Health in Washington, D.C., the scientists, they say that this ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 should be about 1 to 1 or 2 to 1. That means that you should eat equal amount of omega-6 and omega-3 that you're supposed to do. If you are looking to the public recommendations, like the Nordic Council of Ministers, they say that this ratio should be below 5 to 1. That could of course be 1 to 1, because below 5 to 1 is also 1 to 1. So they are saying more or less the same things. The reason why you should have a normal omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid balance is that it supports normal function of your heart, normal vision, and normal brain function. I think that we all can agree that those three issues are rather important for each one of you. And if you go around with an abnormal high omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid balance, it would drive inflammatory lifestyle-related diseases like accelerated skin aging, arthritis in joints, hypertension, atherosclerosis, Alzheimer's, asthma, cancers, and more. And I cannot see why anybody should walk around with an abnormal high omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid balance if they knew that they could change that in 120 days. That is your mission, to tell people. If you look at the fatty acid balance around the world, you can see that it is increasing in all areas of the world. It increases in Europe, it increases in India, it increases in the USA, and it increases in Eastern Europe and everywhere. So this has been increasing all since the 1960s, and it's continued to increase. So this is a general trend around the world that it do increase, also when we're talking today. So that is a lot of things that has to be done. If you look at Estonia, here you will presently have our balance on average from 9.8 to 1, almost 10 to 1. That is the average of the Estonian population so far measured. And that is based on 3,752 tests analyzed at the university laboratories in Norway. The question is that the same with men and women? And the answer is yes. The man has an average of 10.3 to 1, while the women is 9.6 to 1, and that is both in the inflammatory area. So the average in Estonia is like most other places. The reason why this ratio is increasing around the world, you will find in your diet. And if we start at the bottom of these slides, looking at the corn and the soybeans, which is more used for grain feed production, they have a very, very high content of linoleic acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid. If you look into the fat of these materials, you will find that more than half of the fat is linoleic omega-6 fatty acid. And when that is produced into grain feed, the grain feed will be used to feed the pigs and the cattle and the hens and also the fish. And that means that we are feeding our animals that we are using for food with a high content of omega-6. In the animals, this omega-6 linoleic acid will be changed into another fatty acid called arachidonic acid, which is is the omega-6 that we store in our body. And that fatty acid will be stored in all the cells of these animals. And when we produce our food from these animals, like the meat, that will contain a lot of arachidonic acid. And normally we add to the meat, we add some sauces or dressings produced from vegetable oils. And then we add linoleic acid again. So our food contains a lot of arachidonic acid from the meat and linoleic acid from the vegetable oil. And when we eat it, our body will use this component to produce arachidonic acids, which we store in our membrane. So try to remember the name arachidonic acid, because that is something we will talk much about as we go on. That is the omega-6 that you all have stored in your cell membranes. Well, if we're going to balance omega-6 and omega-3, we need to increase the intake of fish, fatty fish, or the omega-3s. And by doing so, we also need to have more protective factor in our diet. And the advice that the government normally gives you is that you need to consume about 5 to 1 of green and vegetable every day, which is a good advice. Probably too little, you should probably have more. But the sad thing is that most people are not able to consume that amount of green and vegetable every day. So you have to find another way of doing this. And the other way is what we call the omega balanced health concept. It is the balanced mixture of anti-inflammatory polyphenols from olive and marine omega-3, EPA and DHA from the fish. And when they are mixed in the right proportion, they will help each other to make powerful health effect on your body in a dose-to-pound manner, meaning that the more you eat, the better the effect will be. I like to say, I will get back to all these components in more details, but I like to state very early now that this is a preventative health concept. It is not a unique medicine curing all kinds of diseases. Sometimes I get that impression because of the questions I get. But what it will do, it will improve the body's capacity both to resist and to fight various lifestyle-related health issues. So I will give you 2 examples already now. And the first example is from the sport. We had a football club in Norway called Lillestrøm's Football Club, and they had a problem with their players. They were not able to access the trainings and games, or many of them were away from training and games due to both illness and injuries. So about 60 days a month in combined, these players were unavailable. And they had an average of 12 to 1 when we measured the cardiac balance. And we changed this balance down to 3 to 1 on average for the group of players. And the absence due to illness and injury went down from more than 60 days a month down to 22 days a month. So it was a very, very good increase. And this club went from being one of the worst in Norway, in the first division in Norway, or the Premier League division in Norway, to be one of the best when it comes to have the players available for games. This was the starting point of some of the things we have been doing in sport, and this year there will be some of the European League football clubs will be playing in balance, and some of the more famous clubs are also starting to do these things, so this is an area which will expand, sure. Quite another example is about, I told you about the skin aging, the effect of the skin aging. And this is a study we did in Norway of women of 40 plus. And this group, they started out with a balance of 15 to 1 on average. And after 100 days, they were stable at 3 to 1, which continued all the 200 days we followed these ladies. And the whole period, the skin elasticity, which is representing skin aging, it improves in this group compared to the control group. So being in balance, that improves the skin elasticity compared to those who are not in balance. So that is wise to be. I will now go into talk a little about the components that we're using in our product, and just to show you that it is sound science behind these components. First of all, I will talk about the polyphenols from olive. And in 2011, the European Food Safety Authority approved heart health claim for polyphenols from olive. So this component is officially having a heart health claim from the European government. stating that polyphenols from olive will contribute to the protection of blood lipids from oxidative stress. I will show you a little what that means, but I just want to state here that we already started to use polyphenols from olive in 2008 in the first balanced oils that we developed. And we use it for two reasons: to protect the omega-3s when it is outside of the body in the products that you buy, but also after it has come into your body. So I'll give you two examples. This first example is taken from a university or from a research institute in Norway called sept. They have a machinery where you can compare different oils at the same time. You can put 8 different oils in the same machine, and then you can treat the oil identical by having the same temperature or by blowing air into it, and then you can see how long time it takes before it gets rancid. And if you see here the krill oil with astaxanthin, it gets rancid within 2 hours of this treatment. Concentrated omega-3s of good quality, which is protected by tocopherols or vitamin E. They are lasting for 8 hours. Normal cod liver oil that you buy in any store, which is protected also with tocopherols or vitamin E, they last for about 16 hours, while the balanced oil, which is a mixture of the polyphenols from olive and fish oil, they lasted for 35 hours, more than double as well as the others. So this is showing that this oil that you are using is very stable outside of your body. The question is, how well does it work inside of your body after consumption? And if you look at the EFSA claim stating that polyphenol from olive contributes to the protection of blood lipids from oxidative stress, this is linked to the transportation of fat in your blood. From the liver to the cells, your fat is transported in the blood stream by particles, cholesterol particles. You all heard about bad cholesterol and good cholesterol and so on. And these particles transporting fat, nothing happens as long as they are in the bloodstream. But as soon as they go out of the bloodstream and come into the blood vessel wall, the climate changes. And this climate is much more oxidative, and the fat in these particles can start to oxidize. And that is the first step. Oxidizing LDL cholesterol to oxidize LDL cholesterol is the first step in a cascade event, which is building plaque in your blood vessel. And will sooner or later make your blood vessels more narrow, and after some years, the wall between the blood vessel and the bloodstream may break, and you may have a blood clot that will either give you a heart attack or a stroke. Normally this starts to happen after the age of 40, or more after 50 or 60, increasing rate as you're getting older, because it takes time for this to develop in your body. But the harm inside the blood vessel is being done in the younger age. For men, it's between 15 and 20 years it starts to develop, and for women a little later. They are more protected until menopause, and after that they are not protected anymore, so it grows quicker. So, but the message is that the problem that you don't see when you're young, like cardiovascular disease, they may happen, the starting point of this may happen when you're young, but you will not see the results before you're getting older. And what polyphenols is doing, they are actually stopping this oxidation from happening, because these polyphenols from olive, they are transported together with the omega-3s and the other fats and cholesterol particles, and they prevent this oxidation from happening. And that is what we call protect blood lipids from oxidative stress. And if you stop that oxidation, you will also stop the building of plaque in your blood vessel, and it will be more protective for heart health. There is another. Your computer is rather funny when it comes to make my slides. There is another component that we are using, and that is the omega-3s from fish, EPA and DHA. And those have also now got part and claims from the European Food Safety Authority. They did that in 2013, last year, stating that if you consume 3 grams of EPA and DHA daily, it will contribute to the maintenance of blood pressure, normal blood pressure. and you can eat up to 5 grams safely.